Most of Japan's ancient martial arts were established with or developed from the samurai tradition beginning in the 9th century. A samurai, one who serves, was born into the samurai class and trained from an early age to become a warrior. By the 15th century, the samurai's duty was to carry out the fighting orders of a feudal lord to whom he had pledged loyalty.
One domain was trying to take over the other domain, and through alliances and through betrayal and fighting, they were all vying with each other.
Bushido, a code of ethics similar to that of the Hwarang warriors, was formulated to help the samurai become perfect warriors. They studied bujutsu, or military arts. These included the use of the spear and the bow and arrow, as well as horsemanship. The true symbol of the samurai, though, was his sword.
The sword was considered as the soul of the samurai, so that was his most important weapon. That was the weapon that he carried by his side at all times, and actually that was a weapon that he wore that symbolized his status as a samurai.
Warriors trained at special schools where they were transformed from boys as young as 7 into fighting machines. At their side, the curved and lethal swords considered the soul of a samurai. Other trademarks were a shaved head and the code of honor known as Bushido.
The rough Western equivalent to Bushido is chivalry. This idea that no matter what you're doing, if you do it with honor, and with courage and with valor, you're a cut above, you're a knight, you're a samurai.
For more than 5 centuries, the samurai dominated Japan. They were indispensable to their lords, feared by everyday people.
For most of the Japanese population, the samurai were a government elite, and a lot of ways they were intimidating, and in a lot of ways Japanese looked at them the way people look at an unelected government. So there were parts about the samurai that weren't that glorious.
But however intimidating, the samurai couldn't hold back the tide of history.
In Japan, a new era had begun to dawn as the feudal system ceased to exist. By 1868, the samurai warrior class was officially dissolved, and the ninja services became obsolete. Bujutsu, the warrior's military system of fighting and killing on the battlefield, fell into disuse.
The warrior had to fit into a peaceful society, but yet the weapons and their use was a symbol of, they were symbols of his rank and position and status, and as his inheritance from his ancestors, they simply couldn't be discarded because they were no longer useful. So the training was maintained.
After the Warring States era ended in the 16th century, the sword continued to be held sacred among the samurai. The medieval art of swordsmanship, influenced by the teachings of Zen, evolved into Kendo, way of the sword. Although Kendo today is practiced as a sport, its true essence lives on. The Kendoists have an expression, Kiken Taichi, which means the spirit, the body, and the sword are one. To train and compete, one wears a keikogi, a loose-fitting jacket and divided skirt-like trousers, or hakama, which were traditionally worn by the samurai.
Its primary function is to give you freedom of movement with your legs, and also to kind of hide your leg and foot movement, so your opponent really can't see when you're trying to advance on him.
For protection, a 5-flap tarei shields the hips and groin. A breastplate, helmet, and gloves are also worn. In place of a sword, a bamboo replica or a shin-ai is used. The object is to score points by striking 8 specific target areas located on the gloves, breastplate, helmet, or by thrusting at the throat.
People think that Kendo is a difficult martial art to learn because you do have to have specific targets, you have to have proper execution. And once they start to master Kendo, they think, well, if I can do that, I can do anything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, man.